And now, ladies and gentlemen,
welcome to my world.
It feels so lovely to be here tonight. What a beautiful night. Give yourselves a round of applause. You're so lovely. Everyone's so lovely.
We are tonight's entertainment.
For your approval, ladies and gentlemen, for your enjoyment.
Hello, hello. This is the Sinsational Podcast, EP001. I'm Sin.
I'm Sadeo.
I'm Tater, for now.
Oh.
You never know.
That should be the full name, Tater, for now.
I've never been able to stick to a name. I think Tater Thought was the thing I stuck with the longest. But the more I had to say that out loud, the more I was just like, people don't like inappropriate names. Minimalism's all the rage. I just decided to just shorten it.
Well, this is our first actual podcast, so we're going to see how this goes. We may change up format or whatever, because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
I think we should just always do it live. Gotta do it live.
Yeah. Well, we say it's live, but this is actually a pre-recording, and then we'll be scheduled to run at Saturday.
It's live to me.
Yeah. So, we can have the fake applause and everything, where they do the TV shows.
You're the AV whiz and all this. So you should get one of those just stream decks that have all the buttons, and it's like a soundboard, and you just hit it.
I've actually
get your laugh track ready.
I've got that software and a touchscreen laptop to where I can actually do the mixer, but I've only got one input. So
I would think that a keyboard macros would be easier to do than touchscreen computer.
Well, once we get 1,000 followers and a Patreon page,
people will pay me money to be an asshole on the internet.
Oh yeah.
Tell me.
If we piss off the right people, then we get the coverage, and then that's how we rake it in. But
I'm not ready to sell myself out.
I guess we're going to be covering some gaming news, ranting about shit. I don't know, see how it plays out. But this is to be aired on our off nights for our actual live game stream. So we just want to fill in that.
Yeah.
I was going to say something dirty there, but
no, no, you can save that for the live stuff.
Yeah.
The real live stuff. That stuff's raw. We can't do that here.
Okay. We may have a guest show up at the end of the show or close to it, but due with San Diego traffic, there's no telling if he'll actually make it here.
I'm worried that with 4 people, it'll end up just sounding like the Super Mario All-Stars collection when the screen was loading for the start menu. How it was just it was that sound of multiple people talking at once, so it was just kind of indecipherable, murmuring. And then it went to color and the music started. We're old. I'm old. You're older.
Yeah, but I didn't play that, so.
You're too cool. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You were only playing Unreal Tournament back then, and I was just disgusting casual child who's only playing Mega Man.
Well, we'll get to that at the end. I have a date written down on the notes that everybody has.
I see that. Yeah.
That should.
We're going backwards. We're starting at the end of it.
We'll get around to our old school gaming topic, but for shit news, Battlefield 5 released a new trailer recently called Devastation of Rotterdam, which I'm not particularly following this game or anything, but the one thing that jumped out was the cover of House of the Rising Sun that they played during the trailer. And I think the song itself makes sense for the trailer. It kind of goes along, except the cover sucks. If they had used the like original Animals song, I don't want to get in a debate of like who did the other one.
I have no idea, honestly. Anytime songs like these come up in game trailers, I like absolutely cannot think of anything except for that initial Gears of War trailer, where they had that one version of Mad World that I don't know was apparently a very popular song. I didn't realize.
Well, I think the Animals is the best, but it's Bob Dylan also did a version. Woody Guthrie in 1967. Bob Dylan was in 62. Animals did it in 64. So they're not the original, but I do think it is the best. And then we also have in 2013, we have Five Finger Death Punch did a version.
Oh,
which wasn't
Lord.
too bad, but
Just erase that from all existence, please.
yeah. Except that like every one of their videos, it's like I don't know, they're always like in combat gear or something. Which I think I'm going to start doing that for my stream with the cam. I'm always going to be like suited up, you know.
Gotta be. You gotta stream Dark Souls in like full plate armor.
Yeah.
Watching this trailer, all I can think hearing this music is like, why wouldn't you just use the original version?
Yeah, and that's what I said.
Like this version doesn't sound. It doesn't sound any better. It doesn't really sound any different. It just sounds like if you tried to make it again, but I guess now, I don't know. Maybe it was a licensing thing. Maybe it was easier or cheaper for them to get like a cover, I guess, than the original one.
That's probably the case. Yeah, the licensing might have been cheaper, but then you would also had to get licensing to do the cover. So I don't know.
I'm not super brushed up on that, but I don't know. I think you can actually just cover anything, really. I guess it's when it's more of when it's used more for advertisement. I think it's when you probably run into more like legal issues. I'm not sure.
Well, if there's any monetary value in it, so they were getting paid to do it for a trailer. So there's an issue.
Yeah, but plenty of bands have covered stuff and been like, "Hey, give us $5 for our album on Bandcamp or something." And I don't think that's a big deal, but maybe that's because it's just smaller scale. I'm not.
Yeah. I'm gonna play a clip of it here.
I feel like I'm just kind of watching a movie.
There's no scene.
Yeah, skip down to about 30-40 seconds when it starts.
Yeah, I ended up going too late in it to. All I got was him going, So I'll have to edit that in.
I need you to do that one more time. How was he doing it? Beautiful.
Yep. They should pay me next time.
Definitely. I'll call my connects at Dice. Tell them I got someone for them.
Yep. Just
I don't know.
Our typical bashing of EA, and I'm sure they'll sign us up.
Well, hey, you know, I'm here to praise EA when it comes to Anthem. So I think maybe I'm not even sure. It's tough to say.
Well,
I definitely don't care about Battlefield 5. I don't know.
I mean, they've done so many. They've like gone back. Like they started.
I just don't. I haven't really just had the time of my life with any Battlefield game except for Bad Company 2. So until they tell me Bad Company 3 is coming, I don't think I care.
I'm just waiting to the point that Battlefield and Call of Duty go to like the fucking Civil War or something, you know? Like,
I think there comes a point where you can no longer suspend disbelief, because in Battlefield 1, the amount, like, they definitely took some weapons that were, I think, developed sometime after World War One and threw them in that game, because they realized that, like, no one's going to want to play with 99% bolt action, right? Like, that's not fun. Like, that wouldn't be enjoyable for anybody. So they kind of, like, they fudged it a little, but for the layman, it was good enough, I think. But I think if you went Civil War, you would absolutely have to just have, like, muzzle-loaded nonsense that no one would enjoy.
yeah, that would be so fucking awesome. You're like, you know, somebody kills you with a hatchet while you're sitting there loading your fucking musket, you know?
I think the only way you can make a Civil War game is if you made the character you play as maybe, like, melee-centric. Like, you were just... like Splinter Cell, but the Civil War. Like, I don't think you can make it
out of trees on top of people.
Yeah, I don't think you can make a shooter, like a pure shooter, set in that period. Like, the only game that comes to mind I could think of that took place in the Civil War, I don't remember. I think it was like Darkest Days or something. Let me see if I can look it up. It was like it was some game where you time traveled, but for whatever reason you had to go back to the Civil War. But you had some weird future gun with you, so you would go back to the Civil War, but you would just be mowing dudes down with your fully automatic, like, future gun.
For some reason, I thought that's what you were going to say. The only way you could make that is if you're from the future.
Exactly, which is what someone tried to do. And I mean, it wasn't a great game. It was just pretty bad all around, I think. But I think that's really the only way you could actually pull it off.
It reminds me of a movie called The Final Countdown. And I don't know, it's like in the 80s or some shit.
The song, you mean?
No,
I think I have the song in my head now.
It's actually Martin Sheen, I think, was in it. And anyhow, they do some tests. They're on like a aircraft carrier, like in the 90s or something, fully loaded. And it sends them back to right before Pearl Harbor. So they are in a modern day, like, aircraft carrier, you know, with fucking all the hardware go along with it, the jets and shit. But they avoided it in the movie. Sorry, spoiler, because I was just waiting for them to, like, send, like, the F-14 Tomcats out after, you know, all the fucking prop planes. But they're like, you know, fucking disruption in time, no telling what will change. So, you know,
yeah, I'm looking
paradox of time travel.
Looking at a picture here from, I guess, a YouTube video. This dude is in Pompeii, like exactly what you think. Dudes in sandals with spears, Pompeii, and this guy's holding, like, a bullpup rifle with a red dot and everything. Like, yeah, that was I guess this game dealt with more than just the Civil War. But I think that's really the only way you could go that far back. I think World War One was pushing it, and I don't think we'll see another World War One game for some time.
It'd be about 15 years, and they'll have to cycle back to it.
Who knows? I mean, hey, maybe we'll have another big war, and then
Don't say that.
They'll make a video game about it in 20 years or something.
Canada-Mexican War.
Nice. Okay.
I don't think that's going to happen.
And we're caught in the middle.
Yep. It's just U.S. is just nothing but like a no man's land.
Oh, Jesus.
Just fucking ruined.
Which one of them do you think has the mechs? Is it Mexico or is it Canada?
They'll have the mechs? Like mech warrior?
Yeah, someone's got to come out with just, like, exosuits, just mowing down dudes. Which one of them do you think it is?
Canada is going to be the Inuits.
So.
They're up there in the territories developing super weapons. You know, because you never hear about it up there. They're doing something, It's like they're Roswell in the Northwest Territories, or yep, some Area 51 shit.
Well, we're gonna look back on this conversation and laugh in 30 years when the war's over.
Fucking CIA's gonna abduct me. Like, how'd you fucking know?
Don't. Well, now you've tripped their.
You've said their name.
You've tripped their algorithms, and now they're watching you because you invoked them.
Fucking Canadian spies show up. It's like, sorry, but we need to kidnap you.
Mark Zuckerberg's just like, okay, fucker, it's time. We're taking you because you outed us. All of our secrets are in the open because of you. It's gonna delete your Facebook account. You're over. Done.
Moving on, we have Call of Duty Black Ops 4, which it looks like they took a kind of drastic change, because instead of, well, it looks like Overwatch or something. You're selecting like a hero that has specific abilities.
The way I understand it is they have taken characters from across the Black Ops games, and they're now kind of all in this game. And since it doesn't necessarily have a core story component, it's pretty much rooted in the multiplayer, the zombie mode, and they're adding that battle royale thing. I guess there's no need for there to be any reason for these characters to be around each other, so they've taken named characters from the other three games and given them all abilities.
What, Quake 3 Arena, to where they took like people like from like different, from the Quake game, Doom game, different shit. And
yeah, same kind of thing, I think. Which I don't care about Black Ops too much. I think I've played all of them to some degree. Not necessarily that I owned them. I just kind of played them like someone else's copy or something.
I did every Call of Duty game up until Ghost, and then after that, I think to buy another.
Modern Warfare 3 was the last one I personally purchased. I bought Black Ops 3 for PC, but I never played it, so I just sold the game to somebody. That's how I bought Overwatch, actually. Like, because I think I purchased Black Ops 3, like a physical copy, because I played a free weekend on my old graphics card, which could not run it any way but like windowed 720p with all the settings turned all the way down.
Oh my.
And so I bought it because I was like, this seems fun. I'll just install it when I get a new card. And I think around the time I got a new card was when Overwatch launched. And I was like, I want to play Overwatch with all my friends. Because back then everyone was playing it. And so I sold it to somebody and bought Overwatch.
Well, the video I came across was off of IGN. It was titled "The Best and Worst of Call of Duty Black Ops 4 PC Beta." One of the topics or cons they were talking about was, well, actually, not leading into this, they were talking about the time to kill is longer. They've increased health and armor, which I hate the idea of already. And then they were complaining about sniper rifles, where like a body shot is a one-hit kill. And
it's still a one-hit kill on a body shot?
Used to, it was, one shot, one kill for a headshot.
One shot, motherfuckers, we got you.
And depending on, like, if somebody was at full health and you shot them in the body, it would not kill them. At least back when I was playing it.
I mean, the last time I played Call of Duty, like, extremely consistently was Modern Warfare 2's launch window period.
I do think it depended on the sniper rifle you had. Like, if you had a semi-auto, it did.
Yeah, they definitely set it to where, generally speaking, I think if you're full health and you hit like a square body shot with the WA-2000, the Dragunov was still in that game, I think. The EVR, maybe something else. Those wouldn't do it, but I think all the bolt action rifles and the 50 cal, of course, I think all counted. But That was the last time I really invested time in Call of Duty, and that was a decade ago now, probably.
Yeah. They were complaining about it, but I remember at least Modern Warfare, the first one, and then moving on, they had what was called a hardcore mode, which took off the radar, and it was essentially like any weapon, if you got a headshot, would kill you instantly, you know.
Yeah, pretty much. I think there were maybe some exceptions. I think, from what I remember, like a sidearm headshot, I don't think would do you in with one shot. It would get you pretty low, but I don't think it was enough. It wasn't. It didn't turn the game into like more of a, I guess, like a Rainbow Six vibe. It just increased the amount of damage you took. Took away a lot of the, like you said, like the HUD and map and all that kind of stuff.
It took a lot of the bullshit off.
It was nice in like Call of Duty 4, like the first Modern Warfare, because it allowed you to pretty much use that weren't stopping power. Because at that point, like everyone was using stopping power and like one other thing in like regular modes, unless they were just, you know, god tier and they weren't worried about it. So hardcore was fun just because you could run with more things.
Yeah, and I miss it, and I mean that's what we played in the leagues back in the day. We were in the hardcore ladder. I don't know. I just thought it was. I mean, you talk about realism in games that you're not ever really going to get there, but it felt more serious. Sneaking around, not being able to like, oh, somebody just popped up on my fucking mini map, you know. But
that was
you peek out at the wrong time and you're dead. And
I wish I would have realized back when that game came out, like what it was going to do for, I guess, just multiplayer shooters in general. I think I would have enjoyed my time a little more. I think kind of like savored it, because like I'm never going to get to go back to that. Like I'm never going to, like it's never going to feel the way that did, and we're just so far past it. Like it's inspired too many things that you'll never have that exact experience ever again.
Yeah.
And I wish I could, because I had a lot of fun then, and I like my memories of it are probably way better than it actually was. But
yeah, I think if I had a fucking time machine, I wouldn't be going back to doing like crazy stuff. I'd be going back to like
for sure.
You know, fucking Quake 2 was the shit.
I would definitely hop in a time machine and play some StarCraft 1 back in the day again.
One other thing, which, based on this video, it's not as bad as it used to be, is, let me watch it here. Actually, let me bring that up on my monitor. Is there, like, okay, this guy just got a kill, and it popped up this giant thing that said revenge. And then there's these huge health bars above everybody. And okay, now it's bloodthirsty. You know, these fucking medals, rewards, achievements, whatever you want to call it. This goes back to where I miss, you know, hardcore. Like, you didn't get damage numbers. You didn't get, you know, a thing saying double kill, triple kill. You know, except for Unreal Tournament back then, you'd have the the announcer or whatever, ludicrous kill.
Yeah.
But let me,
I think I forgot that hardcore back then took away a lot of that stuff too. Like I remember if you leveled up, I think you would hear the noise, like that weird music noise thing it would do when you like leveled up in Call of Duty, but it wouldn't give you the big splash on your screen. I totally forgot that was a choice they made with that.
I'm fixing to send you a link. If I can navigate this shit. This is a screenshot I pulled off of Anthem.
Yeah.
Send it to both of you here.
I part of me thinks that this kind of the way games as a service, like these live kind of loot centric games, like shooters, they do this thing where you get the damage numbers. Sometimes I feel like it's just a cheaper way of like making the game than actually giving you sort of like tertiary feedback.
Well, I think
Like,
that
I
really
think
came
it's-
from MMOs. You know, you kind of want to see your damage numbers. Okay, I'm critting and stuff like that. But
I guess, but that's still easier. I think it's easier to engineer a system that shows you just the raw number that you're doing versus designing a game around giving you feedback and everything else that it does that lets you know you're doing more damage. Like engineering a game to let you feel the damage you're doing, it's harder than just being like, here's a yellow number instead of a white one. That's how you know you're doing more damage. Because if it were up to me, I would just turn all that off. I personally don't like the number system really. I think some games do it okay, like it doesn't get in your face too much. I think Destiny does okay.
I think if it's going to be there, it should have the option to remove it, or it's.
One thing, I think in Destiny you can totally take off the. You can just remove the damage counter if you want. You can remove the health bars too. You can take all that off, but.
Well, I did notice that. I mean, from playing Destiny, it wasn't too bad. But looking at this Anthem, which this is just beta footage and all this,
it's a little much.
It covers your entire crosshair and the enemy you're shooting. So if there's multiplayer and you're trying to track somebody, you know, and seeing all that shit's just, and I think it takes away from immersion. You know, if you're trying to really feel like you're this character and in combat, you're not going to get like, you know, I guess y'all know what I'm saying here.
Yeah, I will say that I guess in a game like Anthem or Destiny, I don't worry too much about immersion because it's the future. Like it's a sci-fi setting where everything's already just way further ahead than we know it to be. So I don't mind it too much. I just mind that like you said, it is like looking at this picture right now. If you just cut out the column of the center of this image, the combo thing is taking up like 30% of what you can see, and that's a little much. Like Destiny at least keeps the numbers smaller, and then they're just like, these are yellow, so you know you're hitting your headshots. Or I guess it's not always headshots, there's other critical damage areas, but yeah. Not, I'm sure in Anthem they will give you the option to toggle it off, but I think games like this are so focused on you knowing right then how much damage you're doing that they don't play quite as well when you take those numbers away, which sucks. That's why I think we all like older games where you got some kind of physical feedback through vibration or something, or just within the game. It gave you kind of like an audio cue, or maybe the enemies react in a certain way when you hit specific parts, so you would know you're hitting
like
a higher damage shot.
Another link here. This should take you to the moment in this video of Anthem where it gets all kind of crazy.
All the videos I watched kept doing the same thing. That's the one thing that worries me with Anthem, is every video I've seen always seems to start from the same place. I don't know if that's because that's just the game. Like, you always start from the same central point and you have to branch out. Because it seems like every trailer I watch, they go through the waterfall and they do that thing where they go into the lake through that structure, the ring structure. Like all 4 or 5 different trailers I've seen have all like taken you through the same areas. Which makes me feel like there's not a lot in this game, but I'm probably wrong.
Yeah, which they did add some more footage to this, I think, going through this video from Eric's gaming there. And he's covering it pretty good. I think he actually got to play some of it, so.
Yeah, they had a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of videos up from, they had a hands-on thing back at E3. Like, a lot of the footage we got around E3 was just the reveal stuff, but sometime later, a lot of publications started putting out their actual hands-on footage, so it's a little more unique, I guess, even though it's all kind of the same roughly guided experience, I think.
Moving on to some actual, like, real news or update.
The news you need to know.
Yep, the division, which we knew that they were going to be, I guess, nerfing Stracker for it being, so overpowered in both PvE and PvP. We didn't know what exactly they would be changing. We finally found out, which right off the bat, we jumped back into the division like, a month ago. Got hooked on it, started looking for what the meta was because I wanted to get back into PvP. Okay, so it's Stracker, but it has to be classified Stracker. I have no classified pieces, so I spend weeks and weeks farming. And I'm still one piece away, and I just kind of like broke my will, but I'm like, I'm one piece away, and then they're like, yeah, we're going to be nerfing Stracker. So what the classified version of Stracker did was it added kind of a heal over time. So as you built up stacks, which increased your damage, it would also give you this like little 0.02% health back based on whatever your total. It don't sound like much, but it did make a difference in PvP. So the heal got nerfed from the original 0.02% health per second down to 0.01, which isn't a big deal. But the healing is even less if you're in the dark zone, playing Last Stand or Skirmish, so any PvP. The damage stack, which for every hit your bullet did, you get a 2% increase in damage. So now that's only going to be a 1% increase in, again, PvP. PvP or PvE, it's still normal, 2% increase. So I think they did a pretty good job, at least without nerfing it for the PvE side. So people who did invest in getting the pieces and min-maxing them, it's not an entire loss. It is still kind of overpowered in PvE, but at this point, I don't really give a shit. It's just the whole PvP thing chasing the meta, because you really do need, the meta to be competitive in that game.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna. I'm not gonna really touch PvP in that game. Maybe when 2 comes out and things are a little more fresh, I'm kind of in step with the game as it progresses. I'll give it a shot, but I think at this point, like, there's just so many dedicated PvP players. Because as I understand it, the game was kind of kept alive for so long when it was in a bad state because of the Dark Zone, like, focused community.
And
they were the people who kind of like stuck around with that game through its worst times. So and those people are just way over me. Like, I will never be able to compete with them. So I figure, why try? I'll just wait.
If you had the good gear sets that whatever was top or bugged or broken at the moment, it was actually fun and enjoyable. The going rogue on people and trying to escape or evade. When the combat was balanced, or at least everybody was on an even playing field, it was fucking awesome. But if you jump in and you don't have the right shit, regardless of I wouldn't say regardless of your skill, but I mean, it usually wasn't a pleasant experience. I did a Banshee build a couple of weeks ago that is pretty good, and I was still getting slaughtered by people with Stracker, so I stepped away from it.
I still think that you look like a colossal douchebag if you go rogue on someone. I don't know. And maybe that's to the game's credit. When I see someone getting ready to do it, I just feel the most amount of disdain for a stranger I possibly can.
Yeah, it's like fucking
seeing
toggle
seeing
my
this guy,
douchebaggery.
seeing this guy, like he stops and he looks at you, and there's that weird 5 seconds where you're like, is he gonna go rogue? Is he not? And then you get that confirmation, and then you just immediately you're filled with loathing for this person.
Yeah, at least when I was doing it, I would try to be kind of fair. Like if they had loot or they were about to extract, I wouldn't be a dick.
But that's like, I mean, I guess kind of it's opposed to how I feel generally, but like I also feel like you have to be an asshole. Like it's not fun going rogue on people if you're not just like
Being full.
just really picking on people. Like
Yeah.
you see some guy that's like got his gear and he's probably very excited to extract it. Like if you're not capitalizing on that and just wrecking this person just for the fun of it, like why even go rogue? So
I enjoyed like once you had like full stacks of manhunt and being chased by the entire server and trying to survive. That's what I enjoyed the most out of it. Not being rogue, finding some guys that are actually trying to get gear and then just slaughtering them when they're like, yay, we got
I mean, that's
gear.
the fun of it. And I don't like personally playing a lot of that content, but I think it's great that it's there.
Well, going back right now, I don't care about slaughtering people while they're trying to extract because right now you can get good gear in other places. Back when we were playing it pretty heavy, the best gear came from the dark zone.
Yeah.
Like the better chances at the high end or higher, and then it was like certain gear sets would only drop there.
Mm-hmm.
So you were kind of forced into PvP if you wanted to, really gear up.
Maybe Ubisoft will pull a Bungie and be really bad at perceiving player feedback, and just Division 2 will go back to all the good gear being in Dark Zone. You can have it.
If it does, I'm gonna have to end up giving Bungie some slack. But as of right now, I'm hoping that fucking Massive will release Division 2 exactly the way
you're gonna be eating some crow if you give Bungie some slack. You have shit on those dudes, which is fair.
Yeah,
they pulled some nonsense.
They did Halo, and I think they've been riding on that shit too long. Because that's the only thing they have is Halo and now Destiny.
I think most of the people who worked on the core Halo games are gone. I think most of the people working on Destiny now are kind of like a whole new crop of people.
The people worshiping them?
I think that like one of the main story writers might still be the lead guy that worked on Halo. I forget his name. I keep wanting to say like Jason. I keep wanting to say Jason Statham, but I'm like, that's not it. I think it's Joseph Staten. I think maybe it's the guy's name. He might still be there. One of the artists is definitely still there.
Well, you saying that he was like head of story doesn't say much for Destiny.
Yeah. I mean, of course, yeah. I guess you can argue whatever, any number of things about Destiny's current and former story beats, but
yeah, we'll leave that for another night, though.
I mean, he wasn't the lead writer. I think he was just he oversaw the general narrative in Halo, and he maintained that role.
He did the writing for the companion, because he probably wrote like Cortana.
Yeah.
Talking to you while you're in combat.
Yeah, because I think he also dealt with the people for Halo that were writing novels and stuff. Because those people were pretty. They I think they had like a pretty much a literal tome of like universe facts and info about Halo that they would allow the authors of the like expanded universe books to kind of get in on, and he oversaw a lot of that to kind of try to keep it all fairly cohesive. Even though now I think 343 has said that they don't want to have as many books. Like they want to keep all the story stuff in the games and simplify it. Not that 343's been handling Halo great, but whatever. That's again, that's a whole separate episode, I think, for talking about Halo's legacy and all that shit.
Actually, I think my mic was messed up. I will say that I did enjoy the lore and everything with Halo, especially the early days.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of lore somewhere in Destiny. I just don't think they do a great job of giving you that up front in the game. At some point, you get tired of reading like weapon and item descriptions to get game info.
And you don't really get to piece it together all at once. I like, at least I'll jump back to Star Wars: The Old Republic, and you would unlock these codex entries or whatever, and there was actually this audio you could go back and listen to, and it would give you this kind of history, of what led up to the game and stuff. So you can listen to it, or you could get it all at once instead of actually jumping like from this item to this item. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's there's like a vagueness to the Destiny, like the item descriptions, like the flavor text you get. It's interesting, but it's not. I think you have to invest way more time than is reasonable to start understanding it. Like I hear people talk about, like the broader story and the lore in that game, and I don't know where they get that. Like I just imagine they've spent hours just reading stuff and having it all side by side and trying to like connect dots. That I don't necessarily enjoy that. Like it's cool, like in a game like Dark Souls, that's neat. But I think in a game like Destiny, they would benefit from a lot more direct storytelling, which is weird because they did that in Halo. The games told a pretty straightforward story, and they used other media to kind of elaborate on it.
Yeah, I still did find myself like hitting the Wikia page quite often to like
I think the flavor text in Destiny is super interesting, but I don't know what any of this means. I don't know who these people are. I think they could do a little more. I really don't know why they haven't expanded it to any other mediums, like released any novels or made more consistent comics or anything else. It seems kind of odd, but
speaking of
that's what
lore, so watch the QuakeCon announcement with Doom Eternal.
And they want to make lore for Doom?
Yeah, they said they are building a universe, which, of course, the first Doom games, there wasn't really, a story. You had that little screen that said, I don't know, I can't even remember what it said, but supposedly, I guess you're a Marine who was being punished.
You're talking about old, like original, like Doom 1.
Original, like Doom 1.
Okay, yeah.
You were a soldier who punched like your lieutenant or whoever was in charge of you, and they sent you off to like a shit job on Mars, and then Doom happens. That was the story back then.
Yeah.
They did kind of like elaborate on the hell stuff. Doom 3, they did, I think, a really good, attempt at, because they added a lot of writing, a lot of, stuff, but
I think for the time it came out, Doom 3 was actually pretty good. I know that I think a lot of people just kind of wanted mindless shooting fun, and Doom 3 tried to lean more into like the horror kind of aspect of it, for better or worse, I guess.
Got away from the whole flashlight mechanic, that game would have like.
Well, that's the thing. I played Doom 3 on Xbox originally, which is I think what a lot of people actually ended up doing. But they did the HD remaster, the BFG edition for it that you can get on PC. And in that version, they set the flashlight to just be shoulder mounted on the character. So regardless of what gun you're using, you can pull up the flashlight. And it's still on like a battery kind of timer system that recharges, but you can just pull it out while you still have your gun out. You don't have to switch for the flashlight.
Yeah.
It kind of lines things. I liked the tension in a lot of cases of having to pull out the flashlight, but I see where it kind of breaks the pacing of the game a little bit. a lot of those encounters are definitely easier when you always have a gun out and can see. So
Yeah,
I get the complaint.
I think I ranted about that in one of the streams about how we're always in the future, but people rarely have fucking night vision.
Yeah. No, I mean, Sam Fisher had night vision. Just
Yeah,
give
but that wasn't
everyone
the
the
future.
goggles.
That was like our current timeline.
I think I think the Splinter Cell games always took place like a little further ahead. I think in that era for Ubisoft, they were always like real fond of being just like a few years ahead of where we were.
Yeah.
So they could,
I mean,
in a way, they could play off of current like events.
Yeah. So if it was like 3 years in advance, they fucking have sonar,
Yeah.
but yet I'm in a game where it's like I've got teleporters on Mars, but
there's
can't fucking see in
it's
the
always suspension of disbelief. That should happen. It's
Yeah.
like never
I guess
hanging
you
away
could
from
say
it.
like your night vision wasn't around, the flashlight was there, kind of like Gordon Freeman's crowbar.
To be fair, like what normal research base is just like, yes, we have a closet full of night vision goggles. As I understand it, like military grade night vision goggles were A, very expensive, but B, oddly like primitive.
Yeah.
Like they didn't work very well, but they still cost a shit ton of money for them to make. So I could see it's always going to be easier to be like, hey, here's a flashlight, asshole. Like we're not going to give you a $3,000 night vision headset.
Yeah, I had the monocle or the mono headset, so I didn't have like the fucking dual glowing eyes.
With the helmet mounted like flip down thing.
Yeah, and
Okay, yeah.
it like
I
I
didn't
said, it
realize
was
they knew
primitive.
that.
I tripped and hit shit all the time. Like I would use it when I was standing still and just try to memorize where I was going, and then I would ignore the night vision.
See America's best killing machines out there, just being like, I can't see shit with my night vision.
Yeah, it's a lot better now, but
yeah, well, yeah, definitely, but yeah, I think
it takes a lot of training with it.
You could definitely argue that even in the future, where they're on Mars mining for demon oil or whatever they're doing in that story, that it's still cheaper for that company to just be like, here's a crate of flashlights instead of here's a crate of night vision. So,
yeah. But
yeah, like I get it too. Like it is weird being in this very technically driven future setting and having to deal with just the frustration of like, well, you have to use a flashlight instead of anything cooler, and you have to like pull it out by itself. You can't. Like whacking high level enemies with the flashlight was definitely not a good part of Doom 3, but I still enjoyed it.
Well, I think one thing they did, when Bethesda took it over, because I felt like in Doom 3, you were just an average guy just trying to survive or trying to help while surviving, but
yeah, you're definitely not Doom guy.
Yeah.
In Doom 3, you're just a Marine, which is fine. But I think them going just balls to the wall and Doom 4 or Doom, whatever you want to call it, I guess.
They created a cynical Master Chief, I think.
Yeah, like I know you haven't played it, but essentially in the remake, I don't guess it's fully revealed. I'm sure maybe they elaborate on it in some of the audio logs and stuff, but I don't quite remember. Like there's something more supernatural about that character in that game, and you are just you're definitely like just a walking like murder machine. Like that's all that character wants to do is just rip everything apart.
Yeah, I did see audio to where like the demons like know you. They,
there's
Slayer. They wrote like shit,
Yeah, and
passed down that we fear, the Doom Slayer will come for you.
Like I'm not super into the style of music that it is, but I listen to the Doom soundtrack pretty frequently, and within that soundtrack, there's a lot of like every 3 or 4 tracks they'll have just the audio clip of the one like narrative demon character reading kind of like the lore for the whole thing, and it was very much like there's just always been a person that just wanted to murder all of the demons.
Yeah,
and they were literally just all scared shitless of him.
Yeah, I can't remember where I saw it, but somebody's like, yeah, the fucking demon, like Gordon, or not Gordon Freeman, but Morgan Freeman, you know, like how he always narrates stuff. It's like that was Hell's version.
Yeah, it's literally this dude is just like with the voice that you would think of a very
Earl Jones or something.
A very like caricature like demon would be reading. Like that's what that character sounds like, and it's very much just like this dude came in and just fucked shit up.
Yep.
And everyone was scared of him because he loved fucking everything up so much. So that's what makes that reboot so fun, is you're just, and especially as you level through it and you get more abilities and more guns, you are just like, because when I played it, I was trying to play it like a normal shooter, I guess. And it took me a few hours to realize that you need to just constantly keep moving and meleeing and just blasting everything. And when you figure that out, the game just super opens up. And you just run in these big circuits and areas, and you are just smashing everything, and it's amazing.
Yeah, they call it the whatever push forward combat.
Yeah, it was once I figured out that was like the way you're supposed to play it. It was I think it's definitely one of my like top games ever. Honestly, like it was definitely fun.
And speaking of the new Doom coming out, Doom Eternal. I was watching the video where it's titled Doomslayer Arrives on Phobos, and he's like walking through this kind of hallway or command center, and there's actual humans, non-demons, just normal people, and they see him and freak out, and so you get a kind of an idea of his, presence and ass kickery, but this callback, because in the original Dooms you're always trying to like. You come to a door, it'd be red or something, red, blue, and you needed a key card for it, and you'd have to run around and, find it. It might be hidden somewhere. And in this video, he's going to this door that says locked, and I'm actually going to show it here. And so, I'm not thinking much about it until he looks over and there's this guy wearing a red key card.
And the dude that he's just scared shitless.
Yeah, he's like freaked out.
And he freezes up.
Yeah. And he just drags the dude over with the key card. He's like, he gives zero fucks.
Yeah.
Especially when he walks the corner and pull up audio. Yeah, the soldier doesn't know what to do. He just stands there, and the guy, Doomslayer just takes his fucking gun and
the one soldier's just like, who are you? You can't be here. And then he realizes that it's the guy. He just kind of stops.
Yep.
And even watching that, I was like, he's gonna take the guy's gun, isn't he? And he does. He just grabs this dude's giant fucking just launcher of a gun. And yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I saw on further into QuakeCon is the footage. This guy was just going through the single player, and it came up with this kind of audio of like invasion, occurring or something like that. And the guy runs around, and he comes across a demon, but it's actually got a player's name above it. And they said, now you can become a demon and invade somebody's campaign.
Straight up took a page out of Dark Souls book on that, yeah.
Yeah.
And they allow you to do that, yeah.
It made me think of Left 4 Dead, to where four of you were on the zombie side and taking the roles of different characters. So
yeah, the multiplayer in Left 4 Dead was purely you either ended up on the human side or the zombie side. I didn't like that personally. I don't know. I played Natural Selection 2, I think was what it was called. It was a PC game that was very like you have like kind of like aliens style Marines versus different kind of alien creatures. And it was all about basically trying to build up just like a shitty area for these dudes to try to survive in while you murder them. But I couldn't really get And I've never been able to get into those games like that, like Evolve and stuff, where you have normal humanoid gun-toting characters versus like monsters and stuff. I've never enjoyed games like that. I always want to play as the guy with the gun, but it always felt like when I was the guy with the gun, I couldn't kill the monster, but when I played the monster, I just wasn't strong enough to kill the guys with guns. They just never really never hit home with me.
There was like unique ways you'd have to play like each of the zombies, like the jumper, the smoker, the guy with the tongue.
Yeah.
You know, you want to catch a straggler while he ran back to look for something and didn't stick with his group.
I think in general that those sorts of games don't really sit well with a lot of people, because the only game I can think of off the top of my head that's still around that people play is Left 4 Dead. But they don't play it because of the multiplayer mode necessarily. They stick around with it because of the mod support and, you know, just co-op fun in general. But that naturally means some people will stick with the PvP stuff. But looking like Natural Selection doesn't have a huge player base. It never did, even at launch, and I don't even know if it's still around now. Like Evolve obviously didn't do well. It went free to play, and it did even worse than it did when it was a buy to play game. So like games like that don't seem to do very well. They do it better. Like that Hunt Showdown game does better, but that's because you're always a player character, and the only other people you have to fight against that are real people they're the same sort of characters, and all the monster style characters are environment characters.
Yeah, I think that works into right now. It's the survival genre of eliminating other people, or battle royale, I guess is what.
Yeah, like that game. I played it a little bit. It was a good. I guess it kind of taps into a lot of popular gaming market trends, like you said, between survival and battle royale and all that stuff, and just general like FPS games. Like it kind of bleeds into all those categories enough. It seems to be doing okay. I got into the beta for it and played it a bit, and then like 2 days after the beta started, they pulled it from Steam because they switched it to if you pre-ordered the game, you got beta access kind of model. So if you didn't pay money, you couldn't play it anymore. And I was like, well, thanks for nothing, guys. Appreciate it.
Jumping back on the Doom footage and going back into old memories of Doom, Doom 2, you thought you were used to all the demons you saw before, and one new demon they added, in particularly for Doom 2, was the Archvile or Archvile. He was like the one that would come out, light his hands on fire, and he would teleport in more demons. And he always freaked the shit out of me.
Looking back, I don't know that I ever played Doom 2.
Oh, shit.
When I think of those games, and I think of the second installment of games like that, I think of Quake 2. Quake 2 is the one I always remember like way more vividly. It's possible I played Doom 2, but me being young, I didn't fully understand the lineage of those games. And most of the Doom games I played on N64 actually. So like Quake, Doom, I played that. That Forsaken game, I played all those on console at that point. I didn't really touch PCs until I got a little older, and I played StarCraft.
Which with Doom 2, I mean, they didn't actually like improve anything. Same.
Yeah,
it was just we continuing on, new levels, a couple of new weapons. But that enemy, like I said, it freaked me out. And then in this same footage of where he walked through the hall, at the end of that, we kind of get like this reveal, these doors opening up. And I'm like, okay, what is this? A new cyber demon? What is this guy? Until his fucking hands catch on fire. I mean, it just made my heart like pump when I saw it. And I was like, oh, fuck, that's so awesome. I mean, he might even be in like Doom 2016. I haven't played it, so. But
I don't think so. The only character that comes to mind that fits that description is there was sort of a in Destiny you have the which character is this? Not the Taken. The Hive. You have the Hive Wizards. There's kind of a character in the 2016 reboot that sort of evokes that, but that character like zips around a lot. Like they will teleport around the area a good bit, but they have the same sort of like floaty, shielded kind of like character style. But generally in the reboot, once you enter an area, like everything just spawns in, with some exceptions. Like bigger characters will spawn in as you kill more. But I don't recall a character that just straight up keeps spawning like minions until you kill them. But honestly, the game was so centered around just running in a circuit and just killing as much stuff as you could that I wouldn't have noticed if something was doing that anyway. So, something though.
Well, I searched for an image of this Art Vile character from the original Doom 2, and it looks fucking goofy as hell, but like I said, it didn't scare the shit out of me, it just freaked me out. I'll bring it up here. Send you the link as well. I always do the do when I'm trying to like surf. Here we go. You check out that picture. So this is they did a real good job of making this dude look fucking crazy as hell.
He definitely looks different than the average character you run into in that game anyway. Yeah, I don't remember anybody from the reboot that quite looks like that.
Yeah, he's crossed between like a gray alien like you would think of in X-Files or something, and a demon.
Yeah.
Like when he looked at you, his head was kind of stretched out.
So while I'm thinking about it, you mentioned when you were watching the Phobos trailer with the key card in the door, like the colored card system.
Yeah.
That is in the reboot. The last one. They did that. Because in that game, I think there's like 6 or 7 like kind of main acts. But in each one, you have kind of a larger overall map that you can always kind of backtrack through and go around and like collect secrets and all that stuff. And then I think in the first couple, the colored door system doesn't come up, but later in the game, they definitely do the thing where you have to go find a key card to progress further in that area. And then when you go to the parts of the game that are like where you go to hell, literally, you basically just have skulls that they're on fire, and the fire is like the color of the gate you need to go through. So it's the same thing, just kind of paralleled into being an actual hell. So the color, like the colored door thing, the secret areas, all that stuff, like a lot of the stuff you experienced in old Doom is in that reboot too. And they actually have areas in that reboot where there's like secret areas. Like you have standard secret areas where you go through like an air duct and you just find like the little Funko Pop Doom guy, which is cute. But in some of the secret areas you have like you'll open a door and the textures in the area and the modeling is like Doom 1 style. Like it's completely flat, like 16-bit styled areas that look exactly like areas from like the original Doom game. So I think a lot of the stuff you see in the trailer for Eternal is stuff they did in the last reboot. But that game just kind of adds stuff. Like the grappling hook thing is totally new.
Yeah, I saw that.
The arm sword thing is totally new. The shoulder cannon is new. I think in that trailer, a lot of the stuff you see him do, like the weapon alternate fires, just all the stuff that he can do with the sword and the grappling hook and the launcher and stuff. I think what you're seeing is like a fully developed character with like every skill, everything unlocked. Because the way the last Doom played was you progressed and you did challenges to unlock like the alternate fires on weapons, or like some weapons had multiple attachments you could cycle through that you had to unlock. You had different kind of like passive abilities you can unlock. So I think what you see in the trailer is that character at its fullest potential. And when you actually play the game, you're going to start with a very basic Doom guy and you're going to have to upgrade him. It's kind of like how in the Metroid games, you'll start with everything, and then it gets taken away, and you have to kind of find everything as you play through it.
Well, watching that trailer, like, got me super excited, and I even, like, right before we, started recording, I bought the new Doom, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
It's super fun. It's I think that game deserves pretty much every amount of praise that it got. I don't think I've had that much like raw fun with a shooter in a long time. Just going around just killing stuff. So it's definitely. And some people say that game actually plays better with a controller, because I believe the game, if you play it on PC with a controller, it does some auto aim stuff. And the way it plays, it kind of flows, I guess, better with a controller. But
auto aim.
Yeah, I did fine with a mouse and keyboard on my.
The original, there was no vertical aiming,
Yeah. So I think I tried to play the original one not too long ago. Or it's in that Doom 3 remastered version, you can unlock, or maybe it's not even unlock. I think if you just go through the menus, there's Doom, like classic Doom, and
Doom
2 and Final Doom or whatever it's Ultimate. What's it called? There's like a version of Doom. I forget what it's called, like Ultimate or Final or some shit like that. Those are all in there.
Doom 2 on the Xbox. I guess it was a few years ago. That was like the first time I went back to it, and
the downloadable title, you mean?
Yeah.
Like the arcade version, yeah.
Yeah, we'd just sit there, like she'd play a few levels, and I'd just watch, and then like I would play a few more levels. I mean, it's kind of nostalgic, and still creepy game, like hearing the demon sounds around the corner and shit.
As a child, Quake always seemed creepier because like Doom had like a campiness to it that it always seemed kind of like a carnival, but just with demons in it. But Quake was always like, it's darker, you can't see as much. There's like torches all on the walls.
Quake freaked me out. And another game, I think it was like Hexen or Heretic.
Yeah, I played Hexen. Yeah,
those freaked me out.
That was another game that ended up on N64. All those games ended up on N64, and that's where I played them. I didn't realize for obviously years that those were actually PC games. I got ported over, but that's where I played those. I know that the company who did the Turok PC ports, they did Forsaken recently, which I want to get just to kind of go back down memory lane, I guess.
Well, on that note, I think we're going to call it a night for the podcast, because we did get into the nostalgia, but
I think we covered the nostalgia
yeah,
in pretty much every topic we talked about.
Yeah, and it would have to start with Doom. So
it shows our age a little bit, I think. Everything trails back to something that we experienced when we were younger. So
yeah, probably on the next podcast we'll kind of pick up on this when gaming went from dial-up and stuff like that to like the first video cards, and like I said, I think 1994 was when I got Doom 2, but because I actually bought it when it was released. But I think Quake 2 was when I really became a gamer. So we'll probably pick up on that next podcast. But anyhow, I hope everybody enjoys what we put together tonight. We'll hopefully improve. And
If you listen to this, thanks for listening.
Yep. Have a good night.
You're looking for some guys? What about a bounty hunter? What now?